Ladies and gentlemen, some would say tonight on Sportswire Radio, we have a slugger's army that's with us. I like to say it's a one-man militia because our guest here tonight, he has certainly been the talk of not only Colory Championship Wrestling, Carnage Championship Wrestling, but the professional wrestling world after his huge surprise to his former tag team partner. And they were arguably one of the most dominant tag teams in all of professional wrestling, holding those CCW tag team titles and defending it in places all over the UK scene here. And certainly now he's going to talk about kind of what happened then to what has happened now. It's been a while, but I promise you, this is going to be worth it. He needs no further introduction, but we're going to give it to him anyway. So, with without further ado here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show, pro wrestling star here from CCW, the one man militia, Slugger Hampton. Slugger, how are you?
What? Every single time the introductions get better and better. I'm amazing, Tom, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be finally. It's what, been 4 or 5 months? Maybe
I think
not
it's
longer.
about, I would say it's about 4 months, just about 4 months.
Yeah, a lot has changed. But thank you, Tom. Again, thank you for reaching out. And you're the first person. This is the first show I'm going to open my mouth about. I've not spoke about what's been happening. I've just been turned up and doing my thing, and it's time.
I appreciate that. And obviously, when somebody like you says, hey, the intro is good, it's funny, even last week we had on Andre Decker, and Andre Decker's like you, kind of a big, tough guy, but even he said, you know what, it was a good one this time. So we appreciate that here. We've got a bunch of people that have tuned in. I'll get to them in a second, but I mean, you have certainly been the talk. And I said this to introduce you a couple days ago live on all the different platforms on Sportswire Radio, that you have really been the talk, not just of CCW, Carnage Championship Wrestling, but really all of professional wrestling here. What's kind of happened here, especially your little surprise there, I guess you might want to say, for your former best friend, tag team partner, and you guys dominated in CCW, but the landscape has changed, and kind of talk about maybe in the intermediate, kind of what has happened maybe since the last Colory Championship Wrestling show in 2022 to where we are now, my friend.
Wow. Right. Okay. So, as people may have seen, they may have not seen. People may not know this, as you said. So myself, Slugger Hampton, and DB, as he was known then, DB Riley, working class militia, CCW tag team champions, 7-month reign, longest reigning tag team champions. And we were different people then, Tom. You'll know this from having us on before. Well, I was a different person, I should say. That snake is still the same. So December comes along. Now, we lost a match in November where the loser leaves CCW, and we lost that match. So December was our sort of, our last hurrah. We wrestled, as you know, you've had the guys on, 2 very good friends in the modern day mafia. Is that the name? I don't know. I'm not. I know Joel Cobra. I'm joking. I like the guys. They're good guys and they're good competition.
Yes.
So we had that match. We lost the match. They were a better team on the night. Uncle Ralph, as you know, is with them now, and
yes.
that's that. Well, that's another thing, but I'm not going into that. Ralph's had enough. He had his name spoke about enough lately. So so we finished the match. Taylor Trudes, who you've had on, is a legend. Yes. Taylor is a legend. I don't know what's happening with him at CWO at the minute, but I know he's having a bit of struggle. They're not having his back. That's his problem. I ain't stirring anything, but I hope he's okay. Taylor Trudes announced us, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, the working class militia and everyone in the crowd, they're all up, they were clapping. There were a few people crying in the audience, which surprised me. Taylor came over. We hugged Taylor. Mr. McGregor came over, and everybody who knows,
I know. I remember watching
our issues with Mr. McGregor, and I'll get onto him a bit later on. But he came over. We hugged Mr. McGregor. We hugged James Barris. I hugged James Barris. We put our scarves in the middle of that ring, Tom, which signified everything that we'd done in the last year at CCW. We bowed to the audience. That wasn't my thing. I'm not that sort of a guy, but DB, you know, MMA background, it's a disciplined thing to do. That's what we did. We bowed. I turned to the left-hand side of the crowd to thank him. I turned back, and what was I met with? DB's knee straight to my skull. And then the next thing I know, I wake up, the big Viking Ulfric's towering over me, helping me out. He was a referee that night, and I didn't know what had happened. The crowd's faces were just blank, confused, upset. And the last thing I remember, I say I don't know what happened. I know what happened. I don't know what happened between that time, because the last thing I remember is seeing his knee flying towards my face. That same knee that I've seen destroy our opponents over the last 7 years. Because 7 years is how long me and DB were tagging. 7 years constantly. Tag team championships in multiple promotions. It ain't about that, but that's our credentials. We turned up to CCW with a mission, and we accomplished that mission. And it was thanks to, people may say it's thanks to Barris, people say it's thanks to Uncle Ralph. And in a way, it was thanks to Uncle Ralph, because he showed us that edge we needed. He gave us that edge. The edge that we apparently lost when he decided to thrash us both with his cane. I think it was August, September last year. I still owe him for that one. But again, he's an old man. What can we say? So then it turns out I watched the footage back. And lo and behold, DB Riley, now known as Grayson Riley, or Mike, as I know you, if you're watching this. You signed that contract behind my back. You always knew you were staying with this company. And the reason Barris gave for signing DB back and having him turn on me after 7 years, the reason he gave was that I was the pompous one. I was the loud one. I was the one that always asked for more. When all I ever asked for was the admiration of our peers and the people that pay the money, hard-earned money, to come and watch us every month. And when we finally started getting that adulation, that's when things started going south. You see, Grayson, Nerds, and Barris, otherwise known as Top Tier or the Bastard Club, whatever you want to call them, they all thought they'd outsmarted me. They all thought they had one up on me. I remember the times when I'd try and call DB and he wouldn't answer his phone. And when he finally answered, I'd say, where have you been, bro? You know, I've been trying to call you. Oh, sorry, I've been on the phone with Barris. Have you now? Where was my call? And then other things started happening. So, you know, I used to be in the loop all the time, Tom. And of course, being Top Tier, there was no secrets. We were a family.
We had you on here. I remember with Chris Onyx, you and DB. I mean, listen, we had you on several times throughout 2022. And I would even argue that what you guys did, especially you and then your former tag team partner at the time, now Mr. Grayson Riley, I mean, you guys kind of really put CCW on a big stage. I mean, what you guys did in places like GTM, I think about NSAW and all the different places, you guys really put CCW and took this company, in a lot of ways, took it from just a place that was special to a certain audience to a place that multiple companies wanted a piece of you guys and everybody else. I mean, I would really say you guys were really responsible for that.
And for what, Tom? And for what?
I don't know.
No, neither do I. All I do know is that, like I say, we're always preached as a family in Top Tier, and everybody knew everything. Everyone was kept in the loop, and then all of a sudden, like I say, DB was having these phone calls. Yeah, we're having these phone. I see. This is where when the emotion sort of starts playing with your head, and it affects what you're trying to articulate from your mouth. And I apologize. DB has been my best friend and my brother for 7 years, not just tag team partner. And the more I think about what he did, and the more I think about why, he knows deep down it weren't worth it for his 15 minutes of fame. And he will be the one that comes crawling back to me. Let's reform the militia again. Let's do what we always love doing, brother. Brother. He'll use that word. He'll use that word. The difference is, Tom, after turning his back on me in December and then leading me into a trap and the dog collar match at Carnage, where it took 3 guys to put me down that night. Not him on his own. Yet he walks around like cock of the walk, like big Billy Bollocks, basically. And I'm sorry for the language, but that's what he thinks. All because he signed a contract that allows him to keep wrestling for a company. Now, you could argue that he's in a great position now. You saw that he had a world title match. He had a CCW Underground Championship match against Hybrid. Unfortunately, he was a little bit unlucky, thanks to a certain bird, we'll say. And I just keep replaying in my head. I just keep replaying that moment. My mind's all over the place, and it has been for months.
It just seems you seem emotional right now, and let me get to some people here that like to say hello and talk and maybe hear what's on your mind. Skulls here, the Soul Collector. Maybe he's going to collect your former tag team partners' soul. Says Skulls is here.
Not before me.
Prince Dagan is here. He says Slugger, Reverend Tom, and he says CC F W. Jamie Mack is here. I feel like I owe Jamie Mack something on Sportswire. I think I owe him an appearance here because I think he's one of the guys.
You 100% owe that guy an appearance. That guy's been up and down the road. He knows his stuff.
Yep. Yeah, we'll definitely make it happen. And my apologies. Sometimes we unfortunately that just kind of the scheduling does happen. This individual who we may or may not know, or may
I know
somebody.
Brad. He's a big fan of Slugger Hampton. I know Brad. He's got my T-shirt. Oh, nice guy. Evening, Brad. Evening.
Boy, you turned different there in a second. Skulls says we want violence. We'll get to that, Mr. Skulls, in a second. My friend Anthony Finkel, who I think these days is in Cape Coral, Florida, says Slugger Hampton is a big man. Yes, he is a big man. You don't want to get on his angry side. Hang in there, Slugger. I agree with you on that. Also, Mr. Gareth Angel is tuned in. He says, great to see Slugger Hampton back in the ring. I 100% agree. And a guy that I know you're probably not going to agree with me on this, but he has become one of my favorites, at least in what he did in the ring.
Okay. Put that on the screen now.
All right.
No,
okay.
Hamed on the screen now.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm sorry. I was listening. I'm really sorry. Anthony, Amy, Gareth, I zoned out for a second because I read that comment before it came up. Read it for me.
Stop whining and crying like a fill-in-the-blank Slugger. You've only brought this to yourself. You've gotten too emotionally connected with the fill-in-the-blank fans of CCW. If Grayson doesn't finish you off, then I will, pal. That's a promise. I mean, that's some strong words that you want to talk about that to Mr. Hammerhead Smith?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
When I first met Hammerhead Smith in CCW, we clicked straight away. Me, himself, DB, and there was another person. And we were top tier. We were top tier before top tier ever came out in front of the cameras. We were top tier. And then Barris joined us and we let him believe he was top tier. Reality was just the boss. We got what we wanted. But then this giant bitch took his ball and went home. And months go by and things change in CCW. And then he turns up again. How you doing, guys? Everything all right? Good to see you again. Still top tier, are we? Yeah, we are. Not seen you for months. Never heard of, not seen anything. You've done nothing. You've never done nothing. And that's the reason that's the problem with the people like this young buck, because that's what he is. He might be a big, strong lad, yeah. Hammerhead, I relish the chance at getting in that ring with you. But my first job is finally eradicating Grayson, Nerds, and Barris and getting what I want. And this is what we're going to get to now, Tom. This is the thing. Barris keeps saying, oh, you want the Underground Championship. You've always wanted it. You're greedy. Yeah, I picked up that title when I looked hybrid in his eyes. But I never played tug of war. I let go of it. It weren't mine. But he knew from looking in my eyes that if I wanted that, I'd take it. That's not what I want, Tom. the adulation, as Amred said, from the crowd and the love and support, I'm very grateful for it, but that's not what I want. What I want is a chance to wrestle in CCW again. I want to be reinstated. Barris knows, Grayson knows, and Nerds knows the only reason they got rid of me is because I was the popular one. I was the one that connected with the CCW family, because that's what they are. They're not fans, they're family. And every single time I come out now, whether it's through the crowd on a live, whether it's dressed as Robin Crow, outsmarting three idiots, the absolute chaos that I was felt in that room when I pulled that mask off, it was deafening. My ears started crackling. I never expected that reaction from the CCW family. And now that I've got it, I can't let them down. And not returning to CCW, not being reinstated, not being able to wrestle in CCW's ring for at least one last time would be letting them down. I need this. It's gone past fucking words now, and I'm sorry for swearing, but it has. It's gone past emotions. It's gone past family. I need this. And that's the difference between me and Grayson. Grayson never needed it. He felt like he deserved it. I always wanted it and I always needed it. And very, very soon, top tier, bastard club, whatever you want to call them, they're going to find out that one, you should have never did what you did in December. You should have never corrupted my brother. And two, if you don't give me what I want, Barris, every single time you have a show, every single time you're on a podcast, every single time you're just walking down the street flyering, if you're at training, if you sat in your mother's house eating your fish and chips, if you're in the bath, if you're kissing your girlfriend goodnight, I might be there for you. Same with Grayson and same with Nerds. And what started, Tom, as something really traumatic, and it was emotional to speak about tonight.
No, listen, I got to be honest. I didn't know how you were going to feel when we reached out and said, you know what, Slugger, it's been a while. We saw what everybody's seen in the professional wrestling world. And I even think back to when we had Joel Cobra on right at the end of the year after you guys were dissolved and you were no longer working in CCW and everything else that went on with that and to where we are. I mean, this is certainly for you. This is really emotional and we didn't know what to expect. I mean, this is not something that was like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. No, we didn't really know. And I could see how much this has kind of overwhelmed you in some ways. And people do want to, you got to jump in.
No, I am very up and down at the minute, Tom, and I didn't know if this was going to be a good idea coming on and speaking to you. Like I say, I am very fragile, but the problem with being fragile is eventually you're going to break, and that's not going to be good for anybody, especially not them.
Well, I'll tell you what, certainly if you were a fan of Cutlery Championship Wrestling, I think you very well might find out here. And of course, I want everybody to follow Cutlery Championship Wrestling on Facebook, Cutlery Championship Wrestling. Join the Carnage Championship Wrestling page as well on Facebook because we certainly know we have a huge show coming up, Miners Mania 2 at the end of the month. And everybody's speaking about WrestleMania, but I'm worried about Miners Mania 2 and what could potentially happen here. And I have no doubt that maybe Slugger Hampton could be a part of that some way or another. But let's get to some more comments because people do want to talk to you, and I'm sure some of them you're going to want to hear. Some of them, maybe not so much. Alfie Nerds, somebody that you just referenced, says, evening, Slugger. The Cult of Killjoy, Dan Robertson, who always seems to walk into something here. We've seen him a bit in CCW, and he's got his own rather interesting relationship, but more of a different twist than you and Mr. Riley, but rather Remus Kane says, evening from Wrestle Kid 2. Salty Slugger can't get over his most recent breakup. You want to say anything to Dan Robertson? Because Dan Robertson, I mean, he walks into something with everybody. Young Horace gave him a number. We saw months back when You kind of called him out after what Gareth Angel and Jack Johnson did to him. We saw on Monday's show where we had the first class. Those guys basically put a number on him, and he seems to walk into so many different things that even the lawman Kyle Kennedy, of all people, told him to kind of just back up a bit.
The problem with Dan Robertson is he talks too much. And then he preaches about the cult of Killjoy, and then this Killjoy turns up and does Dan's bidding for him. At least that's what I can presume. Well, eventually, Dan, you're not going to have people to fight your battles for you. I saw you turn up in that ring at GT and you got face to face, and that was a powerful, powerful bit of a conversation between you and Gareth Angel. And you were looking at it, he didn't put you on your arse properly. But eventually, your luck's going to run out, your backup's going to run out, and you're going to have to face people. And when that happens, we're not going to hear from Dan Robertson anymore.
It's funny you said. I actually pretty much said that in maybe more of a nicer tone to him a couple weeks ago when he was on with us, and I pretty much was trying to tell him this. But hey, I mean, he'll find out maybe, and I'm sure we'll speak with him very soon here as well. Prince Dagan says Hammerhead and Cunnis, and he kind of gives an emoji there. This individual, again, who we just referenced a few minutes ago when you said a big fan of yours, hard not to be on the Slugger train. Humble, incredibly respected, has helped guide me personally, also a beast. I could not agree more. Slugger has always been one of our favorites here on Sportswire. He has always been one of the guys we always look to. Alfie Nerd says, get over, you were the weak link. You needed us more than we needed you. You want to address that? First, before I go further?
Alfie Nerds, to quote a very, very successful UK rapper here, Alfie Nerds is getting way too big for his boots, but he'll never be too big for the boot. And if he keeps running his mouth, that's where he's going to find himself, in back of the Merc. And his family ain't going to find him after that. So keep running your mouth, Alfie Nerds. When you grow a pair, become a big boy, pull your pants up, and I'll see you in that ring, son. Because you're lucky you've only got an headbutt so far. Because if I get hold of you, the next time I see you, Alfie Nerds, if I get hold of you, and I'm sorry how graphic this is, Tom, but this is what's going to happen. I'm going to dig these thumbs so far into your eye sockets that your eyes are going to pop. And then what follows that is kids screaming and parents running around wondering what's going on. St. John's ambulance guys running down. Oh, God, where's his eyes gone? Oh, it's all right. They crushed it in mine. I'm going to take you. I'll take your sight, Alfie. You'll need more than 4 eyes when I finish with your sunshine.
Well, I'll say I'm glad I ate earlier in the day because after that, I don't know if I'd have an
Who put
appetite.
a quid in this idiot anyway, Hammerhead? Who put a quid in this dickhead?
All right, so not done anything. You absolutely beanbag. Funny that every month I'm up and down this country when you were wearing Peaky Blinders and braces. I was going up and down this country, killing it and doing what I do best. Slugger, let's hope you get the guts to stand in the ring with me. Let me tell you this: I will kick your butt in front of your friends and family.
After I finish with Grayson, with Nerds, and with Barris, we'll do this, Hammerhead. I'd do it right now. You know where I am. You know exactly where this room is. Because this is where Top Tier used to film the stuff.
I remember. We had you here, yep.
Right now. You may have been up and down the country, yeah. You have been up and down the country when I were wearing braces and a flat cap like Peaky Blinders. But you were on a coach with rest at wrestling fans coming to the shows that I were on. That's what you were doing up and down the country, son. So wind your neck in, and I'll see you very, very soon. Because I will finish with these three. I've been 10 steps ahead at every single point. When I finish with them, anybody that wants a piece can have a piece. Because Uncle Ralph said, Barris has said, Alfie said, and Grayson said that I'm the weak link and that I lack killer instinct. Let's find out.
All right, let's find out for some more comments here because people want to talk. Slugger, once I'm done getting cleared and taking care of business at GTM, how about CCW bringing a real, credible threat to the roster rather than wrestle kids?
Gareth Angel, when you're cleared and you've took care of business at GT Ministries, I'll bring you into CCW, son. Because you're right. We need more people, more honest people, honest workers, talented, skilled guys, veterans coming in, teaching, like you say, these wrestle kids. They ain't just about, I've had a good idea for a new t-shirt. It ain't just about, let's do a promo in my bedroom, but let's pause camera and then unpause it so it looks like it's cut professionally. It's about going to training. It's about being taught by the best you can be taught by. It's about turning up and putting your grafting in that ring to achieve what you want to achieve. Not pretend you want to be a wrestler because you've seen your favourite Seth Rollins on BT Sport night before, and you think, "Oh, what an amazing feeling it must be to have that chance, to have the crowd give him all that adulation, to high five him. I'm going to try that." Which one of my friends do I know that runs a company? That's not wrestling. Put the graft in, like Gareth Angel has, like I have, like Dustin Hart has, like Ronnie Thatcher has, like Dagon has, like numerous people, like Rarebit, like Jack Johnson, like people that are getting noticed, not just in your area, not just in the mile radius of where your house is next to your local corner shop, in the UK.
We had a guy on here over 2 years ago, Two-Bit, that we've seen on Progress Wrestling. I had Synergy on just before they were about to break, and you've seen Synergy on the WWE Network, and look at what they've done, whether it's in the LWF, Kingdom, Odyssey, and let me ask you a question. I have more comments, but I want to ask you a question because I feel like, and tell me your thoughts on this, maybe if I'm off base. I remember what you did in GT Ministries this past summer, where you actually eliminated the current champion there in GT Ministries, Disciple. And I'm not going to ask you about Disciple. What I'm going to say is coming here. Do you feel like maybe in a way that the seeds were all this doubt and all this distrust, or maybe this backstabbing, in a way kind of maybe started with your impressive showing in the Rumble there at GT Ministries, where, I mean, you really were the talk. I mean, I remember going on different streams and people were like, you even said it here, Tom, I don't know if people really thought I could do all those different things. People didn't really seem to think they took me as a tag team wrestler and they didn't take me seriously. But look at what I did. Look at what I was able to do and accomplish and almost winning that whole thing. You were one of the final 3 participants there. Do you think in a way maybe all this kind of started to where we are right now, maybe started as a form of jealousy from your former tag team partner and seeing the kind of success that you had on one of the biggest stages in that Rumble this past summer?
I've never really thought about that, Tom, until you said it. See, there is little bits and little things that have happened that I think back to that don't suggest so. It wouldn't be as back as the Rumble, but yeah, the Rumble was an interesting time for me. Of course, DB got concussed. And he was the one, let's face it, he was the one who said, I don't want you to wait for me, go out there and do your thing. That's what I did. I entered that Rumble. And talking to Disciple, funny you should mention that guy, because the last time I saw Disciple, he kicked me in my skull in that Stairway to Heaven match.
I remember.
So I owe him as well. But the Rumble it's hard to, like, everybody's their own worst critic, Tom. So it's hard to really get to grips with what impact you made in a certain match. To me, it was just business. I went in and I tried to do the best I could, and I lasted to the final 2 with this guy, Gareth Angel, and I'll never forget that because I wasn't ready. Side note, that's another problem with wrestle kids. Everybody thinks they're ready. Nobody can admit they're not. That night in GT Ministries, I stood face to face, eye to eye with Gareth Angel, and I was not ready, and he showed me I wasn't. Now, if it happened today, it'd be a different story, I believe. And that's not cockiness. That's genuine belief.
But you learned. You learned from that experience.
But talking to GT, so you should say about Grayson and the jealousy. If you remember the Stairway to Heaven match, I worked 2 matches that night. Me and DB wrestled the Diamond Exchange for the first time. And the Diamond Exchange dislocated my shoulder against that ring post.
I remember that.
And I was taken out of that ladder match. But no, big-headed Slugger back in the day. I had to go out there. I'm okay. And if you go back and watch that footage, and a very good friend who I'm not going to mention right now pointed this out to me, as I slid in that ring to get that briefcase, when it dropped after Rarebit, if you remember, cut the rope.
Yep.
DB ran over and grabbed my leg. and Disciple punted me in the face. Now, I brought this up once with him, once since it happened, and he said to me, "You dislocated your shoulder and you could have had a concussion yourself. I was looking out for you, brother." And I took that as an acceptable reason. Yeah, you were. But the more I watch it and the more I look back, that kid was stopping me from winning that match. And that hurts. Because everything I did last summer, everything I did for us both. With the full backing, love and support of my former tag team partner. So Slugger Hampton's never been able to win, Rev, ever. And nothing changes until now. Because following the last show, I did win. I took that mask off. DB turned round and I saw fear and shock in his face. I hit him with that package pile driver and he lost that match. And he thought it was the end. And Barris thought it was the end. And Alfie Nerds thought it was the end. And like I said before, Tom, it isn't the end. This doesn't finish until I'm reinstated in CCW and I'm performing in front of the family that are in that crowd. Because that's what I want. I don't want titles. I don't want anything given to me. I'm willing to earn this. Barris, the ball's in Barris and Top Tier's court now. Barris knows that Top Tier dies eventually, like everything else. It's just that I'm going to be the one that puts it down.
Well, we'll certainly find out. And I have a load of comments here because people definitely want to talk to the one-man militia, as we like to call him, and Mr. Slugger Hampton. It is a different Slugger Hampton, but something tells me here, I think for CCW, and especially the likes of Alfie Nerds, his former partner, now Grayson Riley, and certainly Mr. James Barris, you better tread very, very lightly here. Graham Guest says, "Evening, Tom and Slugger. Sorry I'm late." This individual here says, "Slugger is a legend. Absolutely cannot rate him enough. He is brilliant and absolute killer. Top Tier dies." Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with most of that, but the individual here, I guess they might know somebody. I don't know. But BMD, one of my favorites, by the way. We had BMD in one of the more interesting shows I've ever done here. Well, we had one wrestler.
4 people, 5 people? 6, something like that.
Well, and one of the wrestlers, by the way, is Davey Blaze. I don't know if I should mention this again. I promised I wouldn't, but I will. Actually wanted to put cream on Hammerhead Spit's behind. At Fighter Star shows tomorrow night. Certainly good luck to Rob Bagwell and the rest of the crew. I wonder if Mr. Davey Blaze is going to be able to put that cream on Mr. Hammerhead Smith. Says, "The problem with you, Slugger, in CCW is you're getting too much smoke blown up your butt. You remind me of a cockroach. I'm the exterminator. I'm here to teach you a lesson about real professional wrestling. You want me in a match? Do your job right, and I'll be waiting for you, son." That's what he says. You want to hear what you want to respond?
Too much smoke blowing up your arse. You could call it that. Or you could call it over a year, a solid graft at CCW to get the respect that I deserve. The respect that we garnered and we needed and we wanted when we first got there. And we didn't, and it's happened now. Now, Hammerhead Smith, it's easy to write big long paragraphs sat behind a keyboard. It's easy to tell me to do my job right. Now, as far as I'm concerned, son, I'm doing my job right. The reaction I got last Saturday night tells me I'm doing my job right. The fact that I'm sat on Sportswire Radio with Reverend Tom Bryce tells me I'm doing my job right. But I tell you what, son, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care about your little up and down the road, traveling here, traveling there. You're going to do the job and do your job right when we meet. Next question, please.
And some would even say that Hammerhead Smith, it's the Billington Bulldogs who are the ones that got the recognition. You were in the ring with them, but some have said, that's not my opinion, but someone said it was the Billington Bulldogs who have gone to the big leagues rather than...
That's correct. I mean, clearly it was the Billington Bulldogs' time, which they never go over. We'll leave it at that.
Well, I do have a lot more comments, so I'm going to try to get to everybody here because people definitely want to talk. Because it has been a long time since you have been on Sportswire, and people seem to be interested in
I'm loving
hearing
it.
what you have to
All
say.
the questions we want. Top tier
I'll,
will never die. Oh, Barris. Bless you. Get your violins
so
out.
the lawman Kyle Kennedy, who does have his own shirt, by the way, and
Oh, he's
certainly
finally here. He's here. Awesome. Let's listen.
well, Wrestle Kid 1 here. Gotta say, I kind of pity you. Kind of shows that no matter how long you know somebody, the wrestling business is vile and toxic. Everyone who's anyone will step on you to get to the top. I'm surprised you didn't strike first. This business isn't about loyalty, it's about money and championships, and I've got both. Not bad for a loudmouth rookie with more shirts than matches.
He's learning. He's learning. Carl Kennedy has been very lucky to avoid me over the last year. And he knows that. So it'll happen eventually. Just join the queue. Take a ticket, Kyle. Take a ticket, lad. I'll get round to you eventually. This year is going to be my year. And everybody says, oh, it's going to be my year in 2023. Like that. Summer of Slugger was premature last year. The Summer of Slugger 2, Electric Boogaloo, is going to be in full effect.
Oh,
So
I tell you, I'd be
we'll
very.
line them up and I'll knock them down because that's
I,
what Slugger does by my namesake.
as I continue to say, I would tread very lightly if whoever gets in your way. And certainly there are a few people off the bat already. And grab
But
guess.
some guy with a cut-off sleeve shirt that paints his eyes black and sounds like Professor Snape ain't going to scare me. I've been around this business 11 years. Fix up and look sharp, son, and I'll see you when you're ready, not when I'm ready.
All right, that's certainly fair. People saying Slugger hasn't got the killer instinct and was the weak link will get a shock when he finally pulls the trigger. I think we got maybe the first taste of that this past weekend, so certainly stay tuned. But I have to come up here with this comment here from this individual, who, by the way, I know you probably know very well because his name is James Barris, and he's got loads of comments here. So let me try to run them down here and kind of one by one and let you respond in kind of a combination. So first, Mr. Barris says here, no, how come you got this idiot on? I was supposed to be on your show ages ago, Rev. Slugger is a deceiver, and he'll make you feel sorry for him. He'll suck you in and make you believe every word. What a fool he is. Do not listen to this liar. Sob story Slugger. Where is your tissue, Slugger? What do you have to say to Mr. James Barris?
I mean, he's right. He's right. Everything he says then's right. I am a deceiver. I was the one that turned up on Saturday dressed like a goddamn crow. None of them guys knew who I were. I was the one who headbutted Alfie Nerds that dived off of the steps and Luthez Barris, and they still thought Bat Pigeon, that's his boy. Robin Crow were attacking him. And then when I got in the ring, I was dancing around with DB doing the Macarena and shit, and he were like, he turned his back on me. What an idiot. Talk about idiots. Turn his back on me. What's he doing here? What's he doing here? He's here to slap you in a package pile driver and end your night, bro. That's what he's doing here. And it's going to happen every single time. Now, as for you were meant to have me on your show, well, unfortunately, CEO, it don't really work that well when you sat in your car. You know, quality of the video, quality of the sound, you know, the top tier office. So find a room. In the words of Mr. McGregor, get a room. Nice plug for you there, Colin. And then maybe he'll have you on. You're a CEO. Let's have a bit of professionalism. Yeah, let's do that. Like this is that's what I was saying earlier on. You know, when it first happened in December, I was really, really hurt. And I'm still hurt now, Tom. But it's become fun. Messing with Top Tier, messing with Barris and Alfie, and more to point Grayson, it became less about revenge and more about self-fulfillment and just having, and I am having a lot of fun. And when I finally end them, that'll be the most fun I've had for a long time. But then it doesn't end there because they've got this big lump, haven't I? Armorhead Smith's coming on here, gave me all this and that and the other, my lover. I'm going to fight you and I don't care about your little whatever. I'll smash him in, right? We've got the lawman. Oh, yes, I'll smash you in an also and send you back to Hogwarts. Killjoy. I don't even think he knows what day it is or where he is because at one moment he's preaching about follow my cult and I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And then the next minute, you don't see him. He disappears. So I don't even know. Like, I feel like.
And Remus Kane doesn't even want to join. I mean, listen,
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because all these people that are offering me out and wanting to challenge me, they're all delusional. They're all delusional. When years ago, and even last year, when me and DB were together and we were aggressive and we were cocky and we were angry and we'll beat everybody and we want respect and we're really sorry to our opponents for what we're going to do to you and your families, and we were sorry at that point in time, right? That wasn't a front because we backed it up, but it was a demeanor because you have to walk into a promotion like you've got the biggest bollocks on the block. You have to have this demeanor. And then you prove what you're worth. I'm full of confidence now. After that reaction I got on Saturday, after knowing I've got a CCW army behind me, I am full of confidence. And all I want to do is wrestle. And I'm not being allowed to wrestle. You know, I've not stepped foot in a ring properly since December, Tom. That dog collar match that me and Grayson were going to have, I was fully prepared to go to the hospital that night. And I was fully prepared to hospitalize him as well. I knew what was on the line that night, and I got jumped. The fans got robbed of the match. I got screwed over. Nobody won. Grayson didn't even win that night, really, and he knows that because I'm sure there were no pride in what he did to me that night. It was an ends to a means. Get rid of him. We'll worry about him later. Let's sort it out now. He'll not want to come back, but I keep coming back, and this goes back to what I'm talking about with Hammerhead. I keep coming back. I've got that killer instinct. It's not about the admiration of the fans. It's very, very nice. When you walk through that curtain, being booed's a great feeling when you want to be booed. But getting that cheer, feeling that love, there's nothing like it, Tom. When you're nearly down and out, you're in that third act of a war, and you've almost given up. And then you hear however many fans in the audience shouting, "Let's go Slugger," or whoever's name it is. That gives you something. It gives you that extra just to power through and get the result. And that's what these people like Hammerhead, like Grayson, like Alfie, like Barris, they don't get because they're too busy in the clouds on top tier. They don't realise what it's like to have to fight and scrape and scrap to get what you want. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger said once, the wolf climbing the hill's hungry, but the wolf on top of the hill, when he wants the food, it's there. And that's true. But that ain't a good thing. There's no hunger. Being constantly fed, there's no hunger. I have the hunger. And I'm going to make it right. I'm going to make it right for me, for the CCW fans, and for every single person that's ever believed in me. Because right now, it's not right. And things are going to change.
Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, right here, right now, the famous song that many people around the world used to sing, right here, right now, Slugger Hampton, I do have a feeling that one way or another, when he gets his hands on the likes of his former tag team partner, Grayson Riley, Alfie Nerds, and even James Barris, and who knows who else.
They're all loving it.
I'll tell you what, and we have more comments here. Let me try to get to everybody here in a quick way. The Lawman Kyle Kennedy says, "Don't get me wrong. I respect you. Hell, I even like you, kind of." James Barris, I can hear him saying this. Because we had him on a few times. He says, "Top tier will never die," and he also says,
"Hey, listen here, you son of a bitch. Top tier will never die."
I can actually picture him saying, "Army, bloody army, Slugger." Well, I'll give you an army when I ride into Miners Mania 2 in a tank. Boom.
You're going to need one. You're going to need one. This is a good point. So there's rumours and rumblings that Barris has got a tank for Miners Mania. You are going to need it, son. You're going to need more than a tank to stop what I'm bringing. Trust me. So I hope it's money worth spending. I hope you know how to use that thing.
Well, that's a fair point here. This comment here says, Hammerhead Smith, that's quite rich, coming from the person that everyone despises at CCW. The day you get the respect of the fans and the company, then you can comment. And that goes back to what you said. Remember months ago when he was the champion, then all of a sudden that was it. We covered it when we had him on here. After December, what happened with you,
We
I know
stood,
obviously.
yeah, we stood side by side with Hammerhead that night and James Barris with Dustin Hart and Ronnie Thatcher laid at our feet. That's the night Top Tier were born. I had all the respect in the world for Hammerhead. He was a very good champ. He was a deserved champ. When I looked across at him with that belt, I saw great things. But of course, things happen in life. And now he's back. Good for you, Hammerhead.
And we spoke about it, and I would argue that a lot of people felt that they were left in the dark. They were left hanging, almost, as some would say. There was no end there, and a lot of people were really disappointed about that. And I would argue that you certainly and a lot of other people had felt that. So I mean, that's what some would say. And a lone wolf is better than a sheep. I mean, I would certainly not disagree with that at all. And Mr. Hammerhead is back once again. He says, "I feel a pattern here. Oh, bless your cotton socks. Your wet dream came true. Ah, Slugger just pissed in his pants. The fans love and adore you. Trust me. You think your last tag with Grayson was emotional for the fans? There'll be even more emotion when I take the old dog like yourself to the chapel. Good night, dreamer, Slugger." Boy.
Again, let's do it. I want all the competition. I want to fight big, small, fat, thick. It doesn't matter. I'll take everybody on. Hammerhead, please keep opening your mouth. Please keep running it. Please keep running it. Because again, when I finish with them, when I finish with Grayson, when I finish with Barris, when I finish with Nerds, and if he can, I just want to go on to something. If this certain individual keeps opening his mouth and my name keeps coming out of it, and if he keeps putting his hands on me, it shows, then Hybrid's going to get some and all. And I like the kid.
I want to get to him, and because I know we only have so much time with you. I know you're a busy man. You got a lot of stuff, and I do want to say also on Hammerhead, some would say that you've got to beat opponents like Kierwan first. I mean, because obviously Kierwan came in here and beat Mr. Hammerhead Smith, and I saw him in the LWF not too long ago, and the Acid Stephen Cross beat him. A phenomenal talent. I watched him. I actually watched his match at the LWF show in January because a little birdie gave us the tape there, and this guy is a performer we hope to see in CCW here again. We are here on Sportswire Radio with Mr. Slugger Hampton for about 20 or so minutes. We really appreciate Slugger's time here with us, and I want everybody to follow Cutlery Championship Wrestling on Facebook at Cutlery Championship Wrestling. Also join the groups. Also Carnage Championship Wrestling. I want to give a plug to the gentleman thug Ronnie Thatcher for what he does here from promoting the different shows. Obviously, always working with us here on Sportswire Radio. My name again is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I am the man behind Sportswire Radio. I'd like everybody to continue to follow and like us on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. We've got a lot of new likes over the past few weeks, and I really appreciate that. Also, YouTube, we are up and running on YouTube. A lot of new subscribers of late. You can catch us also there on Sportswire Radio. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And I'll be back in this spot Sunday night with another wrestle kid, you might say, and Owen Carter. Might have a little bit more respect than some of the wrestle kids you address. He's a part of the Wrestling Appreciation Society, and he's going to address the lawman Kyle Kennedy, plus a lot of other people. So I hope people tune into that. I'm looking forward to speaking with Owen. He is certainly a guy that I think people want to hear from. You can follow him on Instagram at Real Outlaw King. But we are with right now the one-man militia, Mr. Slugger Hampton, who has got a lot on his mind, especially when it comes to his former allies in the top tier, but they are no longer top tier because Slugger is a one-man militia. And Amy says here, expectations and assumptions are the mother of all fill in the blanks. The lawman Kyle Kennedy says, "Oi, don't talk to me about dress-up, Pigeon Hampton. I'm the one winning championships and doing what you want to, and that's wrestling while you're on the sidelines. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Mock my look, mock the sound of my voice, judge my tenure. But at the end of the day, I'm freely doing what you're begging to do, stepping in that ring. And oh, just a quick PSA, Barris, give me green-haired boy," which I think he's talking about Mad Max Cooper. "I've got revenge on the mind. Give him to me, Barris." So Kyle Kennedy here has certainly said a lot.
I don't want to keep giving these guys too much time, but I will say one thing. Kyle Kennedy, if the most important thing on your mind is wrestling Mad Max Cooper, You've got your chuffing priorities wrong, son. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, all right, but I want to ask you before we move on here and obviously move on to a few closing thoughts is you had talked about hybrid. Now, hybrid, I'm sure you're aware of. I've had on a couple of times here on Sportswire Radio. Certainly, he won the title, and actually, to his credit, I would actually say Hammerhead Smith made a point that I think a lot of people feel that the way he won the championship really wasn't maybe the way that an honorable or a gentleman might have approached it or kind of took the title away from actually Mad Max Cooper, the former champion himself. And obviously he's had a short run here and he's kind of involved himself with the CWO, which you touched upon very briefly here. And I kind of wanted to ask you, I mean, about what had happened this past weekend with you and Hybrid. And maybe do you feel like somehow Hybrid's just kind of walked in here and maybe he's kind of influenced the CWO in different ways? And I mean, what's your overall impression to him? I mean, after especially your face-to-face, some would say, with him this past weekend.
Yeah, he certainly made an impact. He's made an impact, which is what you need to do, especially when you walk into CCW. This is what me and DB did. He certainly made an impact, and you could argue that it wasn't necessarily honourable how he cashed in and beat Mad Max Cooper after Mad Max had it for what, a minute, 30 seconds?
Yeah.
But the best way of putting this is that if he hadn't have done that night, I would have beat him over the head, dragged him out, dragged him on top of Mad Max Cooper and made sure that happened myself, because I do not want to live in a world where Mad Max Cooper is a world champ of anywhere. And that's not, that ain't no disrespect. That ain't no disrespect. But Mad Max Cooper is not on that level yet. He did very, very well to win that match. And a little bit of luck was involved. But when it comes to being the CCW Underground Heavyweight Champion, people like Dustin Hart have held that championship, Ronnie Thatcher, Hammerhead Smith. The rest aren't worth mentioning. But there's been some prestigious names. Hybrid is up there, but he ain't ready yet.
He's not Dustin Hart. He's not Ronnie Thatcher.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And he needed me. He needed me to help him win that match. Now, you could argue that if I'd not have stepped into that ring and got a measure of payback on DB, then he may have took it upon himself and got the job done, Hybrid. But everybody knows what sort of a killer Grayson Riley is. And whether Hybrid wants to admit it or not, Lady Luck was on his side that night in the form of a slugger-shaped Robin Crow. So the next time I see him, the first two words out of his mouth better be, "Thank you." I'm telling you that now. Because respect earned and given where appropriate.
Well, I'll tell you what, I do think a lot of what you said there, and a lot of some have also said about Hybrid, could very well be true. And certainly there are some champions in CCW history that we would rather not mention. But names like Dustin Hart and Ronnie Thatcher, will Hybrid be in that same breath? I don't know. But I know one thing, certainly what Mr. Slugger Hampton has had to say here, there are some fair points here. Let me try to get to a few comments here while we have a few minutes here still with Mr. Slugger. Lawman, I think he basically is saying to the Lawman, come and get some in CCW. And he also says, trust me, that ain't my main priority. I want you, I'm begging for it, but MaxiPad tried taking me out of commission, and I feel he deserves a little smack around before I get to you. All right, that's fine. Alfie Nerd says, I'm sure you had a shot of facing him, but you no-showed. Also, he also wants to go and say that you had your chance, but you fill in the blanks out.
He can't be talking to me when he's saying that. I don't know who he's talking to there. He's talking to the lawman. I don't know.
Possibly so. That could certainly be toward that. Okay, I get all that, and certainly we'll come back to some of that. But I want to ask you a general question before we get to closing thoughts. I mean, we've heard a lot tonight, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot, I'm sure, with you over the next several weeks. I would hope about what happens here with the situation between yourself, Alfie Nerds.
The ball from Paris's court. He knows what I want. This is going to
That's what I was going to ask you. That was pretty much where do we go from here with you? I mean, we see what you did as Robin Crow. We've seen some of the comments here tonight. I mean, where do we go from here with Slugger Hampton?
As far as I'm concerned now, like I said, when it first happened, I was upset and angry, and I still am a little bit angry and upset now. But I'm cool. I said this on Colin McGregor and Ronnie's live a couple of weeks ago. In any other normal situation, when that had happened to me in December, I'd have got up out of that ring when I'd come round. I'd have gone backstage. I'd have smashed Alfie's head into a radiator. I'd have poked Barris's eyes out, and I'd have run over DB with my car. But I'm all right. I'm not angry anymore. I'm chilled. All Barris, Nerds, and Grayson need to know is all I want is to be reinstated. I'm past getting revenge now. Yes, I've had my fun, but it's getting boring. It's easy, Tom. It's, for three of the cleverest guys in CCW at the top tier of the game, they're not very clever. It's been so easy to get at him. He could have, like I say, he's going to have a tank in March and this month. And if he don't give me the opportunity that I feel I deserve, he's going to need that tank. We're past playing games now. The next time I see Grayson Riley, this fist's going to meet with his face multiple times until he gets a mouse above his eye and crimson starts flowing down his face. Same with Alfie Nerds and same with Barris. That's if I don't get what I want. Simple as that.
That sounds like that would certainly hurt. And Alfie Nerds also says he's talking about the lawman. So they're going back and forth, and I'll let them.
Let them two, have a
which is exactly what I wanted to say. Nerds. So I want to then ask you this final question before I get to closing thoughts. And I recognize that you've certainly covered even more topics with you. I certainly know that there's a lot that we could have addressed. People we will definitely do it again, and people definitely want to hear what you have to say. But I mean, if I were to give you for now final thoughts or anything you want to say in direct to, let's say, in no particular order, James Barris, Alfie Nerds, and your former tag team partner, your former brother, what you've said here on this show, he was your brother, your best friend, your partner for 7 years, in Mr. Grayson Riley. What would you like to say to those individuals here?
I'll do it collectively if that's all right, Tom. Save a bit of time.
Absolutely.
The message is the same to all three of them. What you don't understand, boys, is I've loved this business since I was 6 years old. And I'm nearly 40 this year. It ain't a game or an hobby to me. It ain't just something I like. I live and breathe wrestling. I think about it 24/7. I'm not just playing at this. I'm not just aligning myself with the people with power to get what I want. I want to graft. I want to put the work in. I want to show people, finally, what Slugger Hampton can do on his own. Show people the killer instinct. Show people why I'm the one-man militia, the juggernaut, the butcher of Jawbones Hill. All the names I've been called before. The old Slugger's coming back. James Barris, you've got a week. You've got 1 week to give me what I want. And if you don't do it in a week, I'm driving up to that where you live, and you know where that is, and I know where that is. I'm going to drag you out of your house into the street, and I'm going to humiliate you in front of every single person watching. Because that's what you did to me in December. That's what Grayson did to me in December. You've got a week, Barris. You don't want to know what comes next. Tom, I appreciate you having me on. I apologize. I've been a bit up and down tonight with my emotions. Again,
we understand. I know it's been a whirlwind for you these past couple months, and we certainly understand everything that you've gone through here, and certainly you've run the gauntlet. I mean, it's been up and down, and we don't want to keep you much longer because obviously I know that this has been not easy for you. This has been very traumatic. It's been difficult, and I want everybody obviously to, if they can, certainly follow you on social media and everything else that you do. Certainly Slugger Hampton on Facebook, also Devil _of_ Derbyshire on Instagram as well, and certainly support Cutlery Championship Wrestling. And you know what? Before we go, I want people to know, let them join the conversation and tell James Barris that Slugger Hampton needs to be reinstated. Tell them, especially James Barris, because this is
all this stops. The nightmares stop for Barris, for Alfie, for Grayson. The nightmares stop.
And the fans, I think, want it. Deep down, the fans always respected you. We always respected you. We always appreciated what you did out there. You were a competitor. You were always somebody who was just no BS, kind of just straight, just no talking, get in the ring and kick ass. And I think the fans always respected that about you. You know, I would even go further that in Top Tier, you were the one deep down that the fans always respected. You were the one that the fans always had that appreciation for because you always went out there and just said pretty much straight up, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is who I like. This is who I don't like. And you got the job done. And you were the one that took CCW to places that nobody had been to with your showing in that Rumble where you nearly did it. You could have been the GT Ministries champion. You were the guy that put CCW on the map. You were the guy that put CCW again into places where we speak about CCW in this company and that company. And people like the Wrestle Kids want to come in. People like Gareth Angel want to come to CCW. Modern Day Mafia. All this was because of you, Slugger. You were the guy that put CCW on the map. And that's really what it comes down to. So you know what? We're going to do it here before closing thoughts and everything else because I know you're a busy man, so you don't have to talk any further. I know you've been going through a lot here. All right, but you know what? I'm going to go on the record as the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportzwire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, and James Barris. Do the right thing. Reinstate Slugger Hampton. Reinstate Slugger. Reinstate Slugger. Reinstate Slugger. We want Slugger. We want Slugger. We want Slugger. Miners Mania 2 is coming right around the corner. It's the biggest wrestling show of the year. Let's make it happen. So I'm just saying, if you're a fan of ours, you're a fan of CCW, let James Barris know we want Slugger. Bring back, reinstate Slugger. Get those hashtags all trending because we need to make that happen.
Thank you very, very much again. I absolutely love coming on Sportswire, the premier sports radio show in the US. I really appreciate you, man. I appreciate you more than anything. And I've got two more things to say. Amy Sproats, peace out, my darling. Miners Mania 2 coming up, which begs one question. You've bigged me up already. You've got me out, Tom. So there's one more question for Top Tier, for Grayson, for Nerds, and for Barris. And that's, what you gonna do, Top Tier, when Slugger Mania and the CCW family run wild on you? Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, Slugger Hampton is here, and he has one message. Bring back, and the Slugger, what are you going to do when he runs wild on you? The one-man militia, he closed out like nobody else could do, and that's why we need him in CCW, and Miners Mania 2 is coming in. That's right, James Barris. That's right, Grayson Riley. That's right, Alfie Nerds. What are you going to do when the Slugger runs wild on you? The one-man militia is here. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and I want to thank everybody here for tuning in with the legendary one-man militia, Slugger Hampton, who's certainly run the gauntlet, and he's run through a long list of emotions. But I know one thing. We have closed out tonight realizing it was Slugger Hampton that put CCW on the map. It was Slugger Hampton who was the guy that brought CCW to places nobody else could have. And it was Slugger Hampton who really was the center. And he was the center for good reasons of attention and CCW. And it is only a matter of time why Grayson Riley especially finds out all of that. If you're on sportnarium.com/player, you'll go back to your regular scheduled programming. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, we'll be back Sunday night tonight, 8 o'clock, with more wrestling coverage with Owen Carter of Wrestling Appreciation Society. So you'll definitely want to tune in. And thank you, everybody. Please follow Cutlery Championship Wrestling, Carnage Championship Wrestling on their Facebook groups. Tonight, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I hope everyone has here a good night. And we are here on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. Good night.